Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. I make this statement on behalf of the International Drug Policy Consortium, a global network of 190 NGOs that come together to promote drug policies grounded in social justice and human rights. This statement relates to an earlier topic on the critical review of the coca leaf. This critical review comes nearly 75 years after the UN banned the traditional uses of the plant by listing it in Schedule 1 of the 1961 Convention on Narcotic Drugs. This is despite the fact that the coca leaf has been used for millennia by indigenous peoples in the Andean Amazonian region for traditional, religious, ancestral, and medicinal purposes. At the time, the decision to place the plant under strict international control was based on deeply problematic colonial and racist prejudice, as is further explained in Bolivia's dossier annexed to its request for the review. We were able to address the ECDD at their open session last month and called on the ECDD to correct this historical wrong and to explicitly distance itself from past racist arguments made by WHO officials themselves regarding the plant. Since 1961, extensive research shows that the coca leaf does not result in health harms, but may in fact have possible benefits, including as a medicine, as a food supplement, and for social, cultural, and religious purposes. In addition, the basic premise of the 1961 Single Convention is that plants are only scheduled as a narcotic drug when they are considered to produce harmful effects similar to other scheduled substances. This is certainly not the case for the coca leaf when compared to the effects of cocaine use. Various UN entities have increasingly recognized the need to decolonize drug policy and align the UN drug control regime with human rights, including indigenous peoples' rights. This includes statements from the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the UN Special Rapporteur on Indigenous Rights, and resolutions adopted by the UN General Assembly, the CND, and the Human Rights Council. Furthermore, the International Guidelines on Human Rights and Drug Policy elaborates the rights of indigenous peoples to their traditional and cultural practices. As with all UN bodies and entities, the WHO is also bound by an obligation to respect, protect, and fulfill human rights, which is one of the overarching pillars of the UN. As such, any scheduling recommendation by the ECDD should also take due account of human rights considerations. We therefore welcome the decision made by the ECDD to consider the traditional uses of the coca leaf as well as one of the key topics of the critical review report. We hope that this will ensure that the traditional knowledge and culture of the Andean Amazonian indigenous peoples are duly recognized and seriously considered as the ECDD conducts its critical review and elaborates its recommendations on the plant. I conclude with some recommendations regarding this process. There is a need to ensure a transparent and inclusive process that enables the meaningful participation of indigenous peoples at all stages of the critical review, including inviting indigenous experts to participate in specific segments of the 48th session of the ECDD that relate to the coca leaf and not just the public hearings. We urge the member states that had objected to Bolivia's reservation on the coca leaf as it reassessed to the Single Convention in 2013 to withdraw such objections, as has now been done by Mexico in 2018 and the Netherlands in 2023. We encourage member states to initiate a much-needed discussion on the potential benefits of a legal global market for the coca leaf and its derived products, as well as on possible mechanisms needed to avoid the risk of corporate capture and to protect the rights of indigenous peoples of the Andean Amazonian region. I invite you to read IDPC's advocacy note on this issue, which is available on our website, which further elaborates on the points I've made today. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
I thank Ms. Fordham for the intervention on behalf of the International Drug Policy Consortium.